Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott King, and today I just want to do a short video about the recent passing of the legendary John Romita Sr., one of the classic Marvel artists who helped define Marvel Comics, particularly with his work on Amazing Spider-Man, but also sort of as just, I don't know if he was officially art director in the 70s, but he did a lot of touch-ups on stuff, and sort of the Romita was just one of the foundational, people involved with taking Marvel to a whole new level. And so he's mostly associated with Marvel and Spider-Man and superhero stuff. So there's lots and lots of videos about that. But what I want to talk about is before he went to Marvel, he was one of the big romance artists at DC. So I want to show some of my favorite John Romita covers from DC and talk about that just a little bit. I've heard that Romita struggled a little bit when he went to Marvel and took over uh, Spider-Man from Ditko because he was trying to make Peter Parker look like the nebbishy, nerdy stick guy that Ditko would draw, and he just wasn't comfortable. He just couldn't do it because he was used to drawing everyone really handsome and all the women really beautiful. And so eventually he ended up sort of just using his own style that sort of became iconic. I think I heard that he went to Stan and was just like, I can't, this isn't really working. But I think it really worked out creatively because you have that sort of Peter goes to college and he sort of grows up and, it's this guy who sort of comes into his own, and that happens to people, you know. Um, so let's look at some of the roots of that. Now, I used to have a lot of Romita covers. I don't have that many anymore because I just had to cut down on certain parts of my collection. So he did at DC, they had different editors who had their own sort of stable of artists. And so there's some titles he didn't do anything on, and other titles he did a lot on. Girls' Romance is a series where he did a lot of covers, and I used to have a lot of them. I really only have one or two at this point, but I did keep maybe my favorite John Romita romance cover. It's Girls' Romance is number 61. He has a number of these covers where the guy is, walking out of the ocean carrying a woman. Quite a few of them. They seem to be popular. And, DC loved it when they found something that sold, they would just repeat it over and over again on the cover. But this one is by far the best of them. Just the incredible coloring in the background. So like this is one of my favorites. Now, where I do have quite a few Romita covers is that when DC bought Young Love and Young Romance, um, and I've done videos on this before, but they had ongoing characters, and Romita did the covers for all of those books. So I've just picked out one of the Young Love books, which is one of his most famous romance covers and one of my favorites. And again, the coloring really takes this to a new level. I should say that Romita wasn't doing the coloring, but whoever was doing the coloring, I'm afraid I don't know off the top of my head, really made this Romita cover incredibly dramatic, which it already was from his artwork, but the choice to have it in this sort of two-tone really made this pop. So he did all of the Mary Robin Registered Nurse covers at Young Love, but he also did the Bonnie Taylor Airline Stewardess covers over in Young Romance. These are my favorite because I love to travel, and so they have a lot of stuff. This is one of my favorites, 127. It's got the Coliseum in the background. Here's Bonnie Taylor, and there's like an army guy that she's met in Rome. Just tremendous cover. That's issue 127. Next issue 128. Here they are. I don't know where they are. The Alps, Colorado. I don't know. Maybe they're in Canada. But it's got the snowy mountains in the background, the field they're in with all the trees, and again the coloring is amazing. I love the logo popping off of the cover here. So Again, one of my favorites. And then this is an incredible cover. I think Jack Adler added his gray wash touch to the moody sky here, but it's 135 with just this great, dramatic, tragic scene. She's coming up over the hill, waving and smiling, and she's thinking, I've come back to you, Johnny Shannon, on the very spot where we promised to meet a year ago. Meet, comma, a year ago. So a year ago, they promised to meet back here. And she doesn't see that this boulder on the other side of it has a plaque that says, in memory of Captain John Shannon, lost at sea. So that's just another just great, moody Romita romance cover. Now, I also wanted to spotlight that when Marvel decided to expand their line of comics, first in 68, but then again in 1970, they had another big expansion in the 15-cent era where they expanded into a bunch of different genres with Conan the Barbarian, and they had some like kids books that didn't really go anywhere, but they launched like Chili, and they had like Peter the Pest and stuff like that. But they also launched a line of romance books, and of course they had John Romita working for them, so they put him to work on the romance book. So here's the first issue of their 2 romance titles that they started. I think maybe might have been 69. In fact, this does have a date on it, a date stamp, and I think it's July 25, 1969. It's Our Love Story number 1, featuring what, for all intents and purposes, appears to be Mary Jane. I think the hair color is brown instead of red, but since I'm colorblind, it basically looks the same to me. So a great classic Romita romance cover here on Our Love Story number 1 for Marvel. And then he also did the cover for My Love number 1. Again, another tremendous John Romita romance cover. And the feel of these is very DC romance. The Crying Girl, like, it feels actually very DC. When you look at other companies' romance lines, they don't necessarily have that sort of like, the woman's always crying, there's always heartbreak on the covers. Some of them are actually much more upbeat. Charlton has a lot of, there's a lot of drama, but there's more successful stuff at Charlton. ACG has a totally different feel, but the Marvel line immediately feels like the DC lines of romance books, and I think that a lot of that is John Romita. I thought about showing some other stuff. He did work on the covers for both Barbie number 1 and Barbie Fashion number 1, but just stick with these. It's just a short video appreciation. Let me know what your favorite Romita covers are, romance or otherwise. I used to, long time ago, had a very nice Amazing Spider-Man 39 and 40 set. So the 39 was probably a 7 or 7.5. The issue 40 was was above a 9. It was probably a 9.2. Just great books, and I love those covers. Even though I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, he did some great covers for an interior work for Amazing Spider-Man and other stuff. So let me know what your favorite Romita covers are. Big loss for comic community. It's been tough. First we're losing all the Golden Age greats, but now we're losing all the Silver Age greats, and there's really not that many even of them left. Even some of the Bronze Age creators are leaving us now. So it's been a tough couple years for the comics community in terms of the legends, and John Romita is a big one. So let me know what your favorites are. I'll see you next time.